Okay, we've all been there. We want to contribute to a JavaScript project, and the first thing we do after we've cloned the project locally is do npm install because we need the project dependencies. But now you've got a package-lock.json file that has changed, but you didn't make any changes. This is a generated file, and it's a really important file that must be committed to the project. But now you've got this, so either you need to discard these changes or you need to remember not to commit it. And most of the time, most people commit it, and it can cause conflicts, and the maintainers are thinking, well, why are you changing this file? You didn't actually make any changes to the package.json file. So let me explain what this is all about, and I'm going to show you how you can solve it, and if you make a mistake, how you can fix it. So do not worry, it is all fixable. So npm is an amazing project that helps us manage our dependencies and so much more. And so you'll see on the left, we have a package.json file, and this is where we add our dependencies and add the versions we want. Well, the approximate versions, we're never too specific, and when we do an npm install, it will install a version number around about that. And then on the right-hand side, you've got the log file of the specific version numbers that are installed and their dependencies and so on. If you see here on the left, the package.json file is about 3 pages long. If you look on the right, the package-lock file is many pages long. Really, really big. I don't know, maybe 50 pages. Have a guess. I'm not sure. Let me know below. But my point is that we shouldn't be making changes to the package-lock file directly. That should happen all via npm. But also, no changes to the package-lock file should happen unless we make changes to the package.json file. So that's why when you clone a project, doing npm install is actually not correct. You should be doing npm CI. And let me show you. Okay, so I'm in a project here, and if I do a git status -s, you can see I've got no changes. But if I do an npm install because I've just cloned the project and I want the dependencies so the project can work, I can do a git status -s, and you can see now changes have been made to the package-lock file. And this is where the problem starts. Well, 3 problems. 1, there's changes to this file that I didn't make and I'll probably commit. That's probably like 2. And third, I might end up with conflicts. I might have some issues because these versions haven't been tested. So I'm using newer versions that were actually committed to the project. So if I clear this and then just reset that file, so you can see if I do a git status, there's no more changes. If I do npm CI, you'll see it will still install the dependencies in exactly the same way. But instead of using the package.json file to install approximate dependencies, it's going to install the exact dependencies that are in the project committed from the log file. So if I do a git status now -s, you can see there are no changes. And therefore, I'm not going to make those mistakes. But if you're making changes to the package.json file, for example, upgrading versions or adding new dependencies, then you definitely want to do an npm install and commit the lock file and its changes. However, if you're not specifically making those changes, if you're fixing a bug, fixing a typo, improving features, but not making any changes to dependencies, then you should use npm CI. But npm CI requires there to be a lock file. So the lock file still needs to be committed to the project. And you can read more about this on the npm docs. They give a great explanation with the comparison. So when we're doing it on CI, we are also running npm CI. So GitHub Actions or Circle CI, whatever you're using, you would then use npm CI to make sure you get the exact versions. And we should be doing the same locally as well. But if you do make the mistake, let me show you how you can fix it. So let me make a branch. That's how we always start, by making a contribution. So I'm just going to say video test. Can't spell video apparently. Okay, I'm now in my branch. So if I do npm install, that's the first mistake. I could remove these changes, but let's just say I make another mistake and I commit it to my pull request and someone says, hey, I love your other changes, but we don't want changes to the package log file. So let me make a quick few more changes. Let's have a look at the README. Let me just delete something just to make some changes. I'm not going to push this to GitHub. But you can see now we've got 2 changes. And let's say I do something really bad and do a commit and say commit everything with a dot at the bottom. And I'll just say test is the commit message. I get a password because I'm using GPG keys. You probably won't. Right, so I've made those changes. So if I do git what has changed, you will see that I have changed these 2 files. But I only wanted the README file to change, not the log file. And the maintainers are asking me to remove the changes to the package log file. Well, I'm not going to do that manually. So what you can actually do is you can actually say git checkout main -- and then the file name. So that means we can actually revert our log file to what is in the main branch. So make sure your main branch is up to date. So now if I do that and do a git status, you can see the package log file has changed, but it's been changed back to what it was. So now if I commit that to my branch again, it's always better to actually specify the file name than doing a dot, but I've just done a git status, so I'm going to do the dot as I know that's correct. So I'm just going to say it's a fix. Please write proper commit messages. These are just simple examples for the video. So I'm going to commit that, and now if I do a git status, everything's committed. If I do a git what has changed, you will see this was the fix, and this is where I made the mistake, kind of going back in history. But how's that going to look when in my pull request? So I could raise a pull request, but as this is just a test example, I'm not going to do that. What I can do, what a pull request will do, is do a diff to the main branch. So now if I do a diff to the main branch, you'll see that the package log file isn't in the diff because I reverted it. So the commit is there. So in the history, the commit would be there. So what you can do is you can squash it, you can rebase it, you can squash it when it's being merged in via the pull request. There's lots of things that can be done, but don't worry about that. For this video, I want to show you that if you commit something that you weren't meant to change, you can reset it back to the main branch, and therefore it won't appear in your pull request. So I hope that helps. So from now on, use npm CI if you're setting up a project and you're not making changes to the package.json file and not adding dependencies. I really hope that helps. I'll see you in the GitHub Discord so we can geek out on open source projects and we can all learn more together. I'll see you there. Link in the description below.